Hey everyone, John Newman here. Thank you for downloading this episode of Card Mensches. Myself and Danny Black of Hobby News Daily would like to remind you this is a live show every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It can be found on most of our social medias. Danny's at Sportsball and Hobby News Daily. I am Sports Card Nation Podcast. And it can be found on our YouTube channels. At Hobby News Daily, Sports Card Nation Podcast, at Sportsball, and at Card Mensches. So with that being said, we hope to see you very soon on a Friday night in our very active chat room. Now let's start the show.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction.
I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches.
And I'm John Newman, and I'm back from playing hooky on episode 21. Listen, I got a last-minute offer to go to the Savannah Bananas game, and it was a hot ticket. And so I went, and I got to be honest, it was great. They're like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, and had a good time. And
Except a lot shorter and a lot whiter.
Yeah, but I was laughing out loud, and that's not always easy to do. So, but it's episode 22. There's no Savannah Bananas game today, so I'm here.
And it's good to see where I rank. I'm right under a banana. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, but listen, bananas are cool. Like very few people don't like bananas, right? But today's show, I think it's going to be in a few people's wheelhouses, if I may be so bold. 80s and 90s baseball cards you want to own, right? I know a lot of people, call it the junk wax era, and it was, I don't think we can, be disingenuous, but there's still some great cards of the 80s and 90s. I own some. Danny owns some. You out there most likely own some too. We're going to try to pick 5 each, but as we always do, we cheat and we'll mention more than that. But I'll list 5 and then we'll do some honorable mentions. And it's not really based on price. I mean, some cards on my list are expensive. Some cards on my list are not as expensive. And so it's not necessarily the 5 most expensive cards. I mean, there's some rare 90s inserts that are awesome. But those didn't make my list. So anything you want to add there, Danny?
Well, first of all, good to have you back. I'm glad you got the VIP banana experience. If you would have stood me up for a regular banana ticket, that wouldn't have done good. But you were a VIP banana guest, so with all you can eat food, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, it was all you can eat food. Adult beverages were free. So I mean, they come into town. Maybe that was the first time ever here in Syracuse. I think they're coming back next year, but it was the first time. Here. They wound up doing Cooperstown a couple days after. I did not go to that. I came to and listen, the stadium is literally almost walkable. So it was a fun night, and I'm back and ready to talk some 80s and 90s baseball cards. I think other people are that's again right up the alley for a lot of people our age and even a little bit younger as well.
And I just want to let people know, if you're listening to this when the podcast is released, I'm going to try to read out the comments as they come. So if you hear me just read random sentences, I'm reading the comments because already there's a lot of good answers for stuff that people like on 80s and 90s. And I think we're going to continue to get them throughout the show. So I'm going to try to get as many mentions as I can in as we go here. But if you're listening,
yeah, and we're not gonna hit everything on your list. By all means, share stuff that you think we either missed or haven't got to yet, and that sort of thing. So we appreciate that, right? We try to be interactive, so that's what it's about.
All right. Well, I guess that means that we should take turns talking about some cards here. Do you want to talk like overall kind of or do you want to get right into it?
My list is probably 60-40, 80s over 90s, but it's close. It's close. You know, when I was writing them down, I threw value out of the equation. Now, some of these cards on my list have some value, but it doesn't have to be. Many of these cards that are on my list, especially in raw condition, are very, very affordable. You could buy one tonight and have it by the middle of next week if you bought them online. They're nothing, and that's what I think. You know, that's what I said. I didn't want to list like rare 90s inserts because there's plenty of them and some awesome ones that everyone would like to know. You know, I tried to make it cards that are fairly obtainable. There is a card that's not very obtainable that's going to make my honorable mention list. I felt like it's too iconic not to mention, but not a lot of people own it, and it is expensive. So I put that on my that's a great comment.
Yeah, John Mookie wants to know which Greg Jeffries card did you pick, John?
All of them. All of them made the list.
You have them all. It doesn't matter.
You don't. No one knows this yet. This is a 5-hour show just with Greg Jeffries.
It's another pump. It's another pump and dump on Greg Jeffries.
No. You know, as much as I love, that's a great comment. I'm laughing. There's no Greg Jeffries. I'm sorry to say, no. You know, I tried to keep it real. While I like Greg Jeffries, many people who thought they were putting their kids to college on Greg. I didn't think that necessarily. But there were some other people that thought their kids were going to college on the backs of Greg Jeffries rookie cards. Not as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friends. None of them made the list. I think 89 tops would be the Greg Jeffries card that I would pick.
Yeah, Dylan says Greg Jeffries will get hot again soon. Any day now, he's making a comeback. You know what? Does he even get invited to Veterans Day, or do they do any of that anymore?
Like Old Timers Day?
Old Timers Day, Legends Day.
I think the Mets are going to start doing that, so hopefully we see him back in well, not back. He never played in Citi Field, but we see him appear in Citi Field. Yeah, that's the 89 tops. They're future stars, man. That was like the card.
That was a great card.
Just the stance. He's got his glove hand and his regular hand on his kneecaps. And
Warren, you're on the chat.
Yep. So yeah, that's an iconic card. I mean, if I put a Jeffries card on this list, that would have been the one. It didn't, in all fairness, I'm sorry, Greg. I love you still. You didn't make the list.
But still in our hearts.
Yeah, that's the thing. We all have a favorite band we sort of like, but it's not the greatest, but it doesn't rank. They're not going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but we still like them. That's where Greg Jeffries is, an equivalent to the cards. So
Ruben says that Greg Jeffries got bumped for Lee Mazzilli and all time.
Lee Mazzilli is like I know, he's not a Hall of Famer by any stretch. He is beloved in New York because he's a native.
He managed the Orioles.
Yeah. And
one of the worst tires.
And he played for both the Yankees and Mets, and he's a New York City guy, and so he's a New York City legend. I mean, he's not a baseball legend.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah, he really is.
He's not a legend. He's not a New York City legend.
He's a New York City legend.
He's a Mazzilli family legend.
Nah, he's big in New York. Again,
it's New York.
There, and he played for both teams.
You're going to compare him to Mantle and Sinatra? Come on.
That's big. If you can make it there, You can make
Make it
it
anywhere.
Didn't you know that?
New York, New York. Okay, I'm gonna lose people if I keep singing.
And my okay, now I was having sketchy wireless there, and I think the internet heard me start to mention Frank Sinatra lyrics, and they're like, before he sings, let's take him out. So
Oh, I'm getting corrected. He is from Jersey, but let's be honest. He owned New York for a while.
Yeah, most people I knew he's from Jersey, but I bet you a lot of people probably just assume he's from New York City because of New York, New York.
Yeah.
It's the same reason people think Kiss is from Detroit. The band Kiss.
Yeah.
Detroit Rock City. Kiss is from Brooklyn and the Bronx.
Of course.
So
I'd also like
but everyone thinks they're from Detroit because they did Detroit Rock City, which I think sounded better than Brooklyn Rock City. I mean, just Detroit Rock City.
Simon and Garfunkel in the song when they say Joe DiMaggio, when they sing that, they wanted to use Mickey Mantle, but it didn't fit in the song.
Is that really true? I don't know that.
It is true. Yeah. So
all right.
So you ready to talk baseball cards?
All right. Who's going first? I don't think it matters.
I was just about to say Mookie said he also sang about Chicago, but he's all Jersey, baby. All right, Mookie, you can have Sinatra. All right. I give. All right, so you want to go first because my general thought process was it was something, a card that's entertaining, a card that reminds me of that period of my life, and or something that I wish I had that I can't have that I've been chasing or wishing for since I was a kid.
Yeah, I'll go first because I'm pretty sure this card's on your list. I'll do a little build up here. This card, I was 17 when it came out. I didn't have a card store yet, but I was doing shows. And this was a card, and this will probably give it away, but this was a card not only did people in the hobby chase, but people came into the hobby to chase. That's how iconic this card is. It still can be had, especially in raw condition at reasonable prices. Some of the higher grades have went up in the last few years. There is no shortage of this card. This is not a rare short print. There was even rumors that by now I think people figured it out that the company.
I was about to ask, would this be the most graded card of all time?
That, and it was rumored that Upper Deck printed, usually the forms that's what they call the sheets. Will have like a sequence and not all the same cards. It was rumored Upper Deck, because they knew the popularities, actually started to print sheets of all this cards. So these are not necessarily in an exact order necessarily, but it's got to be the 89 Upper Deck Griffey Jr. rookie. And I must say that one's hey.
My Griffey's bigger than your Griffey.
My Griffey's bigger than your Griffey. It's an iconic card. This brought people into the hobby that weren't in it yet. How long they stayed, I don't know. Maybe they're still here, and that's an awesome thing. But for being in the hobby as a 17-year-old kid, here's the crazy thing: the guy on this card at the time was only a year or two older than me, and I was trying to pull him out of a pack. I played high school baseball at the time. I was no Griffey Jr. I think that's safe to say. But I think if you're a baseball player, right, you dreamed of being a major league player, and here was somebody taking the hobby world by storm that was only a year or two older. You sort of felt sort of a kindred, connection to this card. There's no shortage of these. This is not a short print card. Quite the opposite, but it's iconic, right? It's Upper Deck's first foray. It's card number 1. It's a star rookie, and it's the big close up and that Griffey, the kid's smile. Just my wife knows nothing about cards. She's not in the hobby. She's supportive of me. She knows about this card, and she's not in the hobby and doesn't follow it. That's what I'm saying about this card. Even my wife knows like the significance of this card. My wife probably would think this is the most expensive card I own because it's probably the only one she like would recognize. It's not, but everyone's either owned one or pulled one. There's
a lot of people that think the pose. There's a lot of people that think the pose was done as a shout out to the 52 mantle.
Yeah, listen. Anyone that follows, either my show or the content knows I'm a sucker for acetate cards and big facial close-up rookie cards. Like there's something about those, right? That's a hint to another one you might see here on this program.
Lawrence is certainly iconic. John's favorite word.
Yeah. So, and it is, and I'm not saying it's it's not a 52 man
Orlando.
So, but it's got to be on the list. I think if you had 100 people in the hobby do the same list, it would probably be at least on 90 of those people's list. And shame on the 10 who didn't put it on there. That's all I'll say.
Well, you and I did not talk in advance, which is why I had this ready for my list. So I'll just go ahead and say this. I had this on my list as well, and I'm going to second pretty much everything you said. An iconic card for a generation. I just think it represents really a time in the history of cards and the hobby where there was a real transition. What that card did really shook up the hobby like very few sets ever have. So
and Griffey Jr., the player himself, Danny, too, the way he played the game and always, with a smile on his face, and let's be real. I know I don't always like to talk about this, but he played in an era where, performance enhancing drugs became an issue, but yet he was never mentioned in that group. And so when you look at his stats and know that he did that clean when a lot of other people weren't, they're even more impressive. I think he's still I know this sounds crazy. He's still an underrated player. He's in the Hall of Fame.
I agree with you.
He's revered by most, but I still think, especially hobby wise, a lot of his, I try to buy a lot of his stuff up when I can.
Well, how much do you think the injuries hurt?
The worst thing I could say about him, he probably hung on at the end with the Reds when he kind of went. Maybe not initially when he went to the Reds, but he played a couple seasons there that were, not Griffey Jr. type years. But he was in his 40s. His career was not short. I mean, he played into
but his peak was shortened by injury, and I think that adds to a little bit of his infamy. Is we knew how great he was, we saw it, and it left us wanting a little bit more, a little bit like Bo Jackson in that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Still, I always try to buy some of those tough 90s inserts when people bring them up. If they have a Griffey in there, I always try to get them because I still think they're undervalued. And it's one of the Griffey's the kind of guy. Griffey Jr. is the kind of guy I buy, and I don't care if I resell it at a show. It's if I sell it, great. If not, I keep it. And this particular rookie I showed that doesn't go to the shows with me. That one stays here. So
it actually to get it in a 9 is on my want list. So I'm jealous. It's a great card. It's iconic. But like you said, there's no shortage, which is probably why I haven't rushed out to get one. Because if you go on eBay, you can see about 1,000 of them available. But I think I might have given away my next one. So you mind if I go ahead and go next?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, that's the way we do it. So go ahead.
All right. Well, anybody who knows me knows I'm a big fan. Bo knows cards, and I just think this for me was such a legendary card. The back has the bow, the BO, the Royals blue, and the Raiders black. Exactly. This just the card's actually up there. It to me is the poster on the wall that every kid had for a while. It was the peak of Bo. And Bo at his peak might have been the greatest athlete I've ever seen live. I was lucky enough to be at the game of Memorial Stadium. If you've ever seen the video of him running up the wall and down, I was there. It just absolutely unreal. So for me, that card, even though it's not necessarily an expensive card, from the moment that card came out and its 90s score, I've loved that card.
90 score 567. That's how iconic that card is. I know the number. It's 567, I believe. So
I know it's Bo Jackson.
And I don't own this card, but I've owned it plenty of times. But that's how popular this card is. It just sells as quick as I put it out because it's not crazy expensive. It did get up there. I don't know if you remember this, Danny, during the COVID crescendo, as I like to call it. That card was bringing like zooming, like that motorcycle that just went by my house. That thing zoomed up to like $40-$50. Remember that? And selling, not it's obviously come back down now, but that card sells. Anytime I get that and pop it in the showcase, it doesn't stay in the case long because it's $10 to $20 now, and it's one of those cards that people buy multiples of. Like I've had people buy the card from me, and like I have like 10 of these. I just keep buying them, when I seen them. I had like a lot of 3 or 4 of them last year at a show, and he said, "What do you do if I buy all 4 of them?" And I gave him a deal, and he goes, I probably have 40 of these now, but I just love the car. I'll buy them if I can get a deal. I'll buy them all day. I'll buy them all day long. And this again, way, iconic, right?
That's what I look like with my shirt off. I just want to be clear about that.
If you have one of those vinyl Halloween costumes we used to wear when we were kids, remember those old vinyl? When you walk in, it's like, right? You weren't sneaking up on anybody. You got the mask with the rubber band that people could pull off your face and snap back. It's Halloween.
You snap it on the. Well, I got 12-year-old twin boys, so we still get this stuff every Halloween, and it's coming up. So I am so scared. All right, let me catch up on a couple comments because the chat room's been great tonight, guys. I apologize. 90 Leaf Thomas wasn't far behind. 3D 80's score was everywhere back in the day. I used to buy them cheap, and that was, I think Dylan was had on here. Score was freaking awesome. It was absolutely. 3D 80's kids, my friends and I were more excited about that one, talking about the Bo Jackson than the Leaf Thomas. The Leaf Thomas is another great card. Dylan talking to Orlando pointed out it's the only black and white card in the set, and Dylan, it's the only black and white card that I love. Ha ha ha. Our vintage friends talking junk.
And that Bo Jackson card, I'm sure when other players like saw that card, they're like, "Man, I wish I could have a card like that." That was probably some player envy there too. Like they didn't have the physique Bo had, so they weren't.
I was about to say, did you see those abs?
Well, I hope so, man. The dude was, a football and baseball player and good at both. Real quick story. And you might have heard this. So I tracked Deion Sanders was in town here. This is many moons ago when he was down with the Columbus Clippers and playing the Syracuse team. And I chased him down to try to get an autograph, and he literally had me come on the elevator with him. And so I'm on the elevator. It's me and Deion Sanders, probably 92, maybe 91. And he says, "Hey, buddy, I'll sign your ball. But you got to answer a question for me." And here I'm going up in the elevator with Deion, and he says, and this is when him and Bo were kind of battling with commercials about who was the best two-sport athlete. And Deion looks at me and says, who's better, me or Bo? And I paused, and I'm like, "Oh, man, it's you, Deion." And he signed the ball. It's right. It's in this case. The S is a dollar sign, Deion Sanders.
Always,
and
yep.
The elevator gets off on his floor, and he goes, "Hey, buddy, you got to go back down." And I'm like, "Thanks, Mr. Sanders. I'll see you later." Went back down, and that Deion Sanders ball is back here. But him and Bo had that thing where they wanted to be, regarded as the best current two-sport athlete. So I don't know what their real relationship was like, or even if there was one, but I know they were competitive in that regard, where they wanted to be picked over the other one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great argument. I mean, wow, I could go either way on that. You guys get me through many days of work welding. I enjoy the content, Warren. We appreciate that. And Ruben, John, that story was too legit to quit. I believe that was MC Hammer, but that's the two.
Well, he looked, Dion had that look. He had the Jerry curls and
the parachute pants. Remember those?
Yeah. Well, he had like a tracksuit on. I remember what he was wearing. Like, he had like a tracksuit on. He was the last one off the bus. I think he waited a couple minutes. He did. I was the only person there because I literally followed the little mini bus to Quality Inn. It was the Quality Inn, and he waited a couple minutes. I think just to shake anyone that was waiting. And I maybe a dummy, but maybe a smart guy. I don't know. I got a Deion Sanders at the end of the day. I waited, and then he come plotting off the bus, the mini bus, and I'm like, Deion, can you sign one? And he kind of walked fast, and he waved me, like, follow me. And I'm following Deion into this hotel. Like, I'm wondering, like, I just, where am I going? Is he going to sign this thing? Is he going to, like, tease me, like, and get to the door and say, oh, you can't come in? Bye-bye. I had no idea where this was going. I got on the elevator. He asked that question. I paused, answered, got the signature, and back down. And he said, "You got to get out of here, buddy. See you later." And so that ball is still in that case right there. It's 30. I think 30 years old now.
I only paid attention to part of it. So you picked up Deion Sanders, went up to his room in an elevator. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I woke up the next morning.
You're right.
And had a signed ball.
And left.
That's all.
That's Derek Jeter. That was Derek Jeter's.
That was a few years later.
Right. Meanwhile, a lot of fun chat talk about MC Hammer was I believe a bat boy or a ball boy for the Oakland A's at one point.
Yeah,
yes, he was a fan of Deion and those Falcons teams. That was absolutely true.
Jerry Glanville. Jerry Glanville. Remember Jerry?
Jerry Glanville. He would leave 2 tickets for Elvis Presley at every game. That's a true story. That was in his contract.
I had no idea that Jerry Glanville was going to be said tonight. That's what you get with the show. You never know where we're going or the
Jerry Glanville, very classically on card matches. Right, a natural fit. Okay, I think we're back to cards. You ready to go next?
Yeah. All right. This one's 1980, so it's right on the beginning of this 80s and 90s.
Do we have the same one again?
Right, we probably do, man. But this card it's got to be on this list, man. This gentleman is arguably one of the greatest players to play the game. He's not the greatest player, although I've heard a super fan try to convince me of that. Made a really compelling argument, but it's the 1980 Topps Rickey Henderson rookie. It's not the greatest card. It's kind of a distant sideways batting stance shot, but it's an iconic card, right? Everyone knows when they see this card, that's Rickey's rookie. Rickey's a character in himself, right? Always going third person. Rickey don't like that. Rickey got 10 year. I got 20 years. The old 10-year story from the bus.
This is a great comment from Orlando. Rickey is the last player with one.
Yeah.
Great fact.
Yeah, it is. And here's the other thing, Orlando. I think I've heard this being said, and I kind of agree with it. It's one of the last rookie cards you consider like from the vintage era. I've heard people say after the Rickey's rookie year, 1980 Topps, people don't consider that vintage anymore. That's sort of like, the Moonlight Graham line. Once you cross it, you're not in vintage anymore. I don't, people might argue that. I won't argue against it. It kind of makes a little sense because what do we know? What is one of the things about vintage cards, right? Not all of them, but the nice thing is you chasing one rookie card most of the time. And like Orlando says, that kind of yeah. After that Henderson, right? You had at least three, most of the time, three choices when Donruss and Fleer showed up on the scene in '81, and so this if Henderson's rookie was a year later, you'd have three choices to own a Henderson rookie. But you only have to get the 80 tops to have the rookie card. So it's got to be on there. I know it's sort of a layup to put it on the list, but because it is a layup, that's why it probably should be on the list.
But I do think it gets lost in between modern and vintage collectors, and I think it's worth mentioning. It's a very expensive card in a high grade. It's a very hard to get.
High grade it is. If you don't get it in a high grade or you get it raw,
it's affordable in a low grade.
Yeah. It's even affordable raw. What I like to do with the Henderson rookies when I can is buy them raw and then try to grade them and see, how they grade out. But it's not an unobtainable card. It's not a short print again, much like the cards we've talked about so far. But it's got about a lot of reason.
Well, and one of the reasons it's the last single year is it was before we had Fleer and Donruss and everything else. So, I'm going to creep into 1982 when I go into mine, and it's the exact opposite is where I'm headed. So before I move on from Ricky, is Ricky done with Ricky?
Ricky's done. But thanks, God, for putting that card on the list. Ricky like that.
Good night, Warren. Enjoy Suits. It's a great show.
I hear a lot. I've never seen it, but my kids in high school are talking about it. They're like, Mr. Newman, you watch Suits? I'm like, no. They're like, oh man, you got to watch that. Like, so I've heard adults talk about it glowingly too. So apparently I got to watch Suits is what I'm being told.
Some people say Mariano Rivera had last Hamlin rookie in 92 Bowman, but it's laughable in appearance compared to 80 tops Henderson. I was on a show the other day. I will say Mariano Rivera's pleated pants are still one of my favorite things in the history of baseball cards. I cannot buy a pair of khakis with pleats without thinking of Mariano Rivera's pants.
That whole set, that 92 Bowman set, yeah, Chipper Jones in a golf shirt and shorts and many other players, right? It was a different – you weren't used to seeing the players on cards like that. Maybe after the game when they shower, clean up, and make their way back onto the team bus. But, I thought that was really cool. I think 92 Bowman we could honorable mention 92 Bowman, just the product, for doing something different, right? With those Manny Ramirez, with his arms folded and his head on his arms, right? In plain clothes. The Mariano Rivera, like you just showed that card and people know what it is, right? And so that set, I opened a lot. I'll say this: back in '92, I opened a lot of 92 Bowman. So
Dylan says 92 Bowman.
Yeah, I know the cards aren't necessarily expensive now, like at one time they were, but they're still just an iconic set for doing stuff sort of different than what we were used to seeing, right? Which I thought was pretty neat.
All right, now the least surprising thing in the world. Can I show my next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
People in the chat have already commented. They know I was going to show a Ripken. So I actually took the 82 tops traded Ripken. Three-player Ripken, and just the three-player Ripken was Bob Bonner, Jeff Schneider, and Cal Ripken. Jeff Schneider's birthday is actually wrong on the card. It's an uncorrected error. It's a great card. I like the single-player rookie. I know there's an argument over whether the traded is a true rookie. But for me, the first single-player Ripken from Topps is just an all-time classic. It's always had value. The production run was far less than the regular one. Dylan says he knew I would pick the traded version. But I wanted to, this is where I'm going to cheat. If I hit the Powerball, and we're pushing $1 billion here, if I hit the Powerball, I'm going for the police insert Charlotte O's orange. It's just my dream card. This was given out by the police. It was never sold at a team store. There was no way to buy it. The card's not even numbered. Just an absolute chase card and a goat for me. But they're a fortune, even if you can find them. So the least surprising thing in the world is that Danny picked Cal Ripken. So,
which is why I didn't. I knew you were going to cover it for sure. And I'm not arguing. 82 tops traded. That is the Ripken to get. No offense to the try rookie card, but there's you see those all over the place. I probably have 5 or 6 of them here at some point, and that's a great card too. But to get the traded where it's just Ripken, kind of more of a close-up picture where he's got a bat in his hand as you just illustrated. It's a card I don't have yet. I PC graded Hall of Fame rookies. That's the one that
it's a great looking card.
Yeah, that's the one that's on my list. I don't own it just yet, but at some point I probably will. But it is a great card. You don't see. I'm not saying it's short printed, but the fact that it comes out of a traded set, you don't see a ton of them all the time. You got to obviously break the set to get the individual card, and so I think I know. That's the Ripken rookie.
It's a set break. It's not a pack pull.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really go over any sort of rules, so a couple of my honorable mentions here when we wrapping up will be like sets rather than kind of like what I said. The 92 Bowman should get an honorable mention as a whole set for being like a kind of iconic and must own, right? So the Ripken's definitely, and especially if you're a Ripken fan, it's a standalone rookie. So I won't argue. I didn't put it on my list, but I won't argue with it.
Yeah. Tough card to find center. It's the trade is a tough card to find in high grade. In fact, 10s are very low population. So I've dealt with them before, and gosh, they're awesome when you can find a high grade. All right, Mr. Newman, what do you have?
All right, I don't have one near me. I probably have one in the box over there, and I know we talk about doing it clean. And I got to follow up a traded card with another traded card, right? And I don't have a picture, but the 86 tops Barry Bonds traded. Just again, another close-up photo. I'll say it. I don't like Bonds the person, right? Not a very nice guy. I think he was going to be a Hall of Famer before he started using HGH, so I felt like he didn't need it. My son likes to argue that he should be in the Hall because he would have been in prior to usage but the 86 top traded Bonds is on that. It's still, for a guy not in the Hall of Fame officially, it still sells very well. It's still an in-demand card. And, it's out of the 86 releases, it's the most desired one. I mean, he has a Fleer update card, a Donruss to rookies, but that one is the one that everyone it seems like every show I get asked if I have any, and I don't. I might have one just that doesn't make it to the show with me, but I don't have any in my show inventory at this point.
I want to get 2 points in at a comment real quick if I can cut you off, John. Dylan brought up a good point about the color matching. We saw it with the Henderson. We saw it with the Ripken. I couldn't agree more. Just an absolute great point about the color matching on the card, how great it looks. And then talking about the Tiffany version, only 5,000 printed. And we should I think we should make a comment in general about the Tiffany sets. For a lot of the junk wax era, the Tiffany versions are very short printed, very desirable. There is value there. And I think we can kind of group those as an honorable mention as a category of their own if you don't already have them as a group. But I think that's something we should acknowledge.
Yeah, that Tiffany Bonds is definitely a card that always will sell, and if it's a high grade, you're going to see it probably in an upper echelon auction, maybe like a Heritage, because it's going to bring at least 4 figures usually. So, I know Bonds is a sort of a hot button player, and even with myself, but anytime I can grab an 86 Topps traded at a reasonable price and deal, I do, because still in demand, and maybe someday he'll be in the hall. Maybe he's one of those guys who are going to wait on till he passes away. I think they're going to do that with Pete Rose. You're going to wait to certain guys. Sounds kind of cold, but and then sort of put them in then. But Tiffany singing in the malls. Yeah, I think we're alone now. That's all you're getting.
Just you and Dion in an elevator. Is that what you were singing to him?
Wow, that was quick-witted. It took me a second there.
Thank you.
It was just me and Dion.
I'd like to throw out on the 86 traded set the Bo Jackson also.
Yeah.
I just think that's another classic card from the 80s.
Yeah, the 86, someone put in there the whole 86 traded set. Yeah, there's some other guys too that are definitely worthy. That was, there were a lot of dud traded sets in the 80s. The 86 was not on the dud list, put it that way.
Yeah. Ruben says, I just pictured Jim with a wing earring as he's saying that. Don't forget the parachute. Don't forget
during my Wham years.
Right. I could see you doing George Michael in a mall. You got options, John. If it doesn't work out, you got options.
Yeah.
Evidently, Suits is over. Welcome back, Warren.
That or he had a fight with his wife. We always welcome with us. We're not going to yell at you.
Yeah, that's funny. And Dylan says the 86 normal set was a dud for players. Yeah.
The 86 Topps regular set was, now when I remember when it came out, I was digging it and opened plenty of that too as a 14-year-old kid. But we're looking back on it now, it definitely didn't have much star power or rookie power. That's where the traded set came in.
Mookie says the 86 Bo Jackson Topps trade is the same image as the 86 Dunmers, the rookie card. Weird seeing the same pick on the Topps and Dunmers cards. It's a great point.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. Like, usually they have like their own photographer, so that's a great, find out what happened.
If somebody knows the story behind that, put it in the chat or
because you hear companies themselves will use the same photo in the next year's release, but it's Topps and Topps or Fleer and Fleer again. But he just pointed out, Mookie pointed out, those are two different companies. So I don't know how that.
Well, there are third-party photography companies. There used to be AP and UPI and PhotoFile.
Yeah, but once you sell the photo to a company, don't they own?
Only if it's an exclusive sale.
All right.
I'm curious. If somebody knows the story, I'm curious. I don't know how it happened in this case. So
we'll have to ask Rich Klein. Maybe he knows the story.
Mookie says his guess is it was a Royals press issue, and both companies were able to use a question mark. It's a good point.
Yeah. This is a good question.
And Ruben says, what about the Sportflix? The Sportflix cards we should give a shout out to. Nice call, Ruben. Those were awesome. We used to turn them.
Man, I miss talking about this, man. I miss some of that stuff. It's like you can't go home again.
And Dylan wants to know when we're bringing out the 86 Dunmers Canseco. Now, are you talking about Jose or Ozzy?
It's on my honorable mention list. It's on my honorable mention list. So if you want to, Jose, and I don't know if
not
I'm out, but all right, am I back?
You're
it's Jose. Yeah, it's Jose. That card is iconic. I wish the ending for Jose was as good as the beginning, right? If that's a whole different card. If sort of Jose Canseco wasn't sort of a joke of himself. And he was a great player, a masher. We all know, we don't have to rehash the story. Everyone knows Especially if you're in the hobby, he outed everyone, became sort of ostracized. You get the home run ball bouncing off his head over the wall, for his men.
Can we just give a moment
good
to acknowledge the ball
stories?
you can tell.
You can tell. So, yeah, and where is that ball? Like, who owns that thing now?
I don't know, but I think he gave us one of the greatest highlights of all time. Nothing, but it's great. It's a great story.
Yeah, that.
John, you did a professional transition there, and so I'm going to take advantage of you flipping over there, and I'm going to pull up my next card if that's okay. Take my turn here.
Let's go.
You mentioned Canseco, and you were talking about the Bash Brothers, and I think for the 80s, you got to talk about the McGuire Olympic Tops.
Yeah, I missed this one. This one didn't make my list, and it probably should have. So I'm glad it didn't sneak by you; it snuck by me.
And it's not a super expensive card. I mean, in high grade, there's a couple bucks, but to me, it's of a period, and it's just how many of those did I have back in the day? Oh yes, I agree with you. Thank you, Orlando. Yeah, I mean, it absolutely just spoke to me as a card that I would still want. It's Team USA. It's him coming out of college. I mean, he looks like a baby. And there you go. So cheap, $20 for a PSA 8 all day. Absolutely. So I'm going to throw it back up there one more time because it's also another color match.
It is, and he's representing the country and the Olympics, right? And it's also a card that sparks some debate sometimes, Danny. With like, is this the rookie or is it the 87 Tops? People get really fired up about it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, and anyone in the chat wants: what's the rookie, that or the 87 Tops?
I think it's the Olympic card.
I do too.
But a lot of people are going to call it that, but they'll call it an XRC.
Yeah, I know.
Orlando, he was like Mr. America. That's exactly how I feel. That McGuire card was on fire in '87 when he was breaking the home run record. Packs of 85 Tops were going for $5 a pop, and just that was considered expensive back then.
Yeah, it's true. Very good call. To me, it's the 85 Tops is the rookie. I know people who will say, John, it's an XRC. The 87 Tops is the deal. I just say which one's worth. I think when you look at the value, I think more people. If we were putting this up for vote, I think 85 Tops would win. But there's people who will argue to their last breath that 87 Tops is the one. But I'm an 85 Tops. That didn't make my list, not because it shouldn't have. It slipped through the 5-hole on me, to use a hockey term.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Mike. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but I do love the card. And to me, the card just represents kind of that period in the mid '80s, before we realized that everybody we're talking about was juicing.
And that card, Danny, they had different chase periods, right? Like when it came out, it was sort of chased. Then in '87, when he went off with the 49 home runs, people were backtracking, chasing it. Then the home run chase with Sosa in '93, people went back again. That thing's had like more lives than a cat, that card itself. So, it's like a roller coaster.
Perfect time.
It's here. So
you and Mookie are on the same page. Yep. And, I don't think he should be, but does the Veterans Committee, does he get in the hall one day?
I mean, there's people, I don't know, but I mean, there's people who tell you that eventually all the steroid users that have Hall of Fame numbers are going to get in, but they're going to do it, post humorously when they pass away. That's going to be their punishment. Their families maybe can enjoy it, but they're not going to. Same thing I've heard with Pete Rose. I don't know if there's validity in that, but that's what people said. So,
do you want to bet on what year Pete Rose lives till?
I don't know. That he's probably going to, I don't know, what's he in his 80s now?
Is it wrong to gamble on Pete Rose?
Can we bet on how old Pete Rose will live to?
Mike Petty, he has the same chance as Palmero with the pointy fingers. People don't like liars. Should have just told the truth. Yep.
Yeah, that Palmero thing, I'll never forget that, right? Like I did not, use performance enhancing drugs. And like the next week, it seemed like it came out, Sammy Sosa forgot how to speak all of a sudden. That whole thing was like a train wreck in itself,
Yeah.
So.
And I know we're going to lose everybody to the Hall of Fame conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. The 3Ds, there's some that, and I love Mike Piazza, but I don't know how long he used for, but I believe he did. There's been reports.
Roberto Alomar has also been rumored, and et cetera, et cetera.
Really? See, I've never heard Roberto, but I guess.
He played in Baltimore for a little while. Rumors. And I don't like to talk in rumors. Let's talk about stuff that touches me this week before we leave. Rest in peace, Brooks Robinson. I got news for you guys. Not just as a baseball card conversation, but as a person and life. Just Brooks Robinson was the quintessential gentleman. And I was lucky enough to meet him plenty of times, and he lived up to his reputation every single time. So I just want to give a shout out to Brooks and thoughts and prayers with his family. All right, we're on the home stretch, John. So I need your final cards and your honorable mentions.
All right, all right. This is, I think, the final card. And then I have some honorable mentions that I'll breeze through, but I kind of hinted at it before, right? Sir Mix-a-Lot like big butts, and he couldn't lie. I like big facial close-up rookie cards, and I cannot lie either. And here's another one that makes that list. The 84 Donruss Manly card, 12-year-old John Newman of Brooklyn, New York, ripped probably more 84 Donruss than I could afford. Trying to pull as many of these as I could. This is one of my favorite. Forget this card itself. This is one of my favorite card designs of all time. The 84 Donruss with those kind of 3 sweeping lines through it. You got a New York City kid, and while I was sort of off the Yankees bandwagon, I was still a Donnie baseball kid. And this card. This card was sort of like the 89 Upper Deck Griffey before that. This was a chase card in 1984. Manley's kind of on that Hall of Fame bubble. People think he should be in.
He was a perennial MVP candidate over those years.
Yeah. And others will argue that his career was not short enough and he didn't win a ring. Crazy story. They won a year before he made his debut, I'm pretty sure, and they won the year after he retired. This sort of terrible irony for Donnie baseball to not get a ring. But one of those guys, if you needed a hit, right, you wanted him in that batter's box. And then, you had 85, the batting title chase with Dave Winfield. And so, but this card, I try to get these. This is one of those cards I don't really sell. I just try to get them and keep them. And to me, it's an iconic card. 12 years old was when I really started to ramp up. I got started as a 7-year-old, but when you're 7, you're really relying on other people to buy you cards, or can I have 12 years old, you can, rake leaves or mow lawns and to start getting money for packs. And like I said, every dollar I had went into 84 Donruss packs. And to me, when you think of Manley's rookie, right, you got the tops. You got the Fleer, but the Donruss is the card for me from his rookie cards. So I had to put it on the list.
Love that card. The 84 Topps Mattingly was one of my first.
It is, and that's I went after that too, but I was, the thing was 84 Donruss. I remember at the time it wasn't always in the stores. Like it
was a lot harder to get.
Yeah. So anytime I went into a store and they had like 84 Donruss, depending on my financial situation at 12 years old, I tried to buy as many of those packs. And in New York, there was a lot of competition. Even my friends we're trying to get the Manly card, right? Like I remember opening, my friends are all near me. We all have 84 Downers pack. And you're looking at your pack. Did I get it? You're out of the side, out of your right eye. You're looking at your friend on the right. Did you get one? No, I didn't get it. On to the next pack, right? And then the sound when someone got, pulled it, like, yeah, and that sort of thing. So it just brings you back, 12-year-old me,
Brendan Ryan with another great card, the 84 Nestle Mattingly. Loved it, Nestle Mattingly. That was a great one. I like to just, that Mattingly has such memories for me. My first trip to Cooperstown was 84. My grandparents were still alive. They took me there, and I got my first box of cards. The full box that I ever got was a box of the 84 Tops, and that Mattingly card was the one that I've ripped every pack searching for. And I got a Mattingly and a Gooden, and I just thought that was the greatest box in the history of boxes. And then I left it in the hotel drawer and forgot to take it home with me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. What you got some cool stuff on your honorable mention list. What do you have?
We didn't. Neither one of us mentioned this card. I thought for sure. It might be. I don't know what I even delineated my 5, but 93 SP Jeter is another card that probably should be on this list. I have bad nightmares of it because I sold 1 million of them because I thought he was sort of overrated, and it was during my store years. In 93, I had a card store and probably sold 150 of those between 93 and 94. I'm not crying. I mean, I made money, but for what they're worth now compared to what I sold them for then, thinking he was just a good-looking Yankee shortstop that would just be, good or very good and not great, and turned out to be the opposite. So 93 Jeter it should be on that list, right? Here's one that I talked about, an expensive card that will make only honorable mention because it's so rare and so expensive. The 1990 Tops, Frank Thomas, no name on the front. That's. Do
you like the card, or is it just famous for the period?
I think it's iconic for the period, right? It's a card I've never owned, and I've owned a lot of crazy stuff, and I've never. You don't see a ton of them. Let's be honest with you, and so the reason I didn't put it in the 5 main cards and not and on it is because of the price and the rarity of it. I think to make my list, it has to be obtainable in some form or form. Not that you can't buy a 1990 no name Frank, but you're gonna get out your checkbook or your PayPal and pay a chunk of change for. But I think we have to put it on the honorable mention list. I don't know if you want me just. I only have a few more, even a couple sets. The 84 Fleer update set, which I have, was stolen. The key cards were stolen from me. I did own it. That's a great set. I don't think there's a ton of those cards out there, and it's got, talking about Gooden, you got Gooden, Puckett, Clemens, Strawberry. Pete Rose is even in that 84 Fleer update set. How about 1991 Topps Desert Shield cards?
We should have mentioned Desert Shield. Yeah, that was worth mentioning.
As a set, right? I mean, the only difference between them and the 91 Topps was that gold, Desert Shield emblem. But
they were sold as a set, weren't they?
No, they were sold in wax packs. I mean, they were sent overseas. They made their way back to the States,
right.
and those are. Those cards, even commons in a gradable condition, bring, and I'm seeing less and less of them. I don't know how many survived the Gulf War and overseas. So I think they're a rarity, and I think it was kind of a novel idea that really was sort of unique. So 91 Desert Shield made my list, and a plug. Pacific came along. In the 90s, and I know they fizzled out in 2004, but Pacific really pushed the envelope with some of those inserts and foil cards. I mean, they kind of did the first Prism card. Prism now is sort of I don't want to say out. They're great cards, but Pacific kind of brought, was the first to do it, and I think they're sort of underrated. So some of those Prism inserts, right, are iconic. And one last thing, 1983 tops, or I don't want to say tops, just Tony Gwynn rookies. To me, still
great card,
still undervalued player, right? And those rookie cards go for the player he was, and some of the stats where he rarely, like he struck out less times in his whole career than some players do in a single season. Batted 300, and if someone asked me, hey, what if you just needed a base hit to win the game with 2 out, who do you want in the box? And I'm gonna probably say Tony Gwynn every time. There's some great choices that you could pick, but Tony Gwynn was the guy, and you can buy his rookies in some cases for single digits or low double digits, and I don't understand why. And I try to buy him when you can get him for that, because I don't know if he'll ever get the just due hobby wise, but maybe, hopefully someday. Greg Maddux is the pitching version of Tony Gwynn. Doesn't get enough credit.
I'll let you read this one.
Yeah, Volpe has already surpassed Gwynn strikeout though. That's crazy. And I watched him, even though he was a West Coast player.
I was a night owl. It's great either way.
Yeah, and I stayed up and watched him because he was such a great pure hitter, and he'd foul ball after ball out because he didn't like the pitch. He couldn't put that. Like, that's talent when you can just foul off pitches intentionally because you can't drive that to where you're trying to put it, and then you get the one you want, and then it gets grooved, and he rips it for a single or a double. And just a guy that gone too soon as well, and doesn't get his just deserves as far as hobby love. I know he's a Hall of Famer, and rightfully so, but I think his cards are criminally, especially his rookie cards, they're criminally cheap. And I try to get them anytime I can when they're. So I those are my honorable mentions.
Great calls. I just want to throw this card up there because I chased that Pete Rose Jr. card from Classic. Pete Rose Jr. He was in the Orioles minor league system, and that poor guy never had a chance. And he was pushed so hard, and he was not that good. And then my honorable mention, Brendan just beat me to it. Definitely Bill Ripken era. It was on my honorable mention list kind of for this reason, because of the hype, that there was no lack of production. You can find them very easily. Now there are a ton of variations. There's 14 versions now. There can be more than that depending on who you talk to. There's a whole website dedicated to the card.
It seems like every.
Yeah. I was about to say BillRipken.com.
Yeah, that card is the site. I mean, I know. Yeah, and I you're gonna miss some, and that's great. With the chat, we'll fill in those blanks tonight for us, which they did a great job. Right, you can't. There's always something that's this one. I slipped through me. The 85 Topps McGuire's another one. We both kind of slept a little bit on the 93 SP Jeter. That might be more me just reliving the nightmare of selling about 150 of those in a 2-year span for like 30 to $40 a piece and that sort of thing. But and it just so many, right? And with those new companies coming in, pushing the envelope and doing some things differently, and it's fun, man. Like, even talking about it tonight, like you go back, I think of 12-year-old me ripping 84 Donruss packs, and 17-year-old me ripping 89 Topps packs for Jeffries, ripping 89 Upper Deck packs for Jeffries, and some guy named Ken Griffey Jr., who I was my second favorite player after Greg Jeffries. So just fun stuff. Brings you back to kind of when you got your early start, and it's fun. You can't really go back, but this is probably the next best thing, right? Is talking about that stuff, and look, we learned stuff, right? Here, the Bo Jackson picture appearing on 2 separate companies' releases, and we don't really know how that's possible, but maybe we will. 90 Lee, Frank Thomas. I mean, we could do a 3-hour show with this 20 years.
We'll definitely watch that video. It sounds good. Yeah. All right, Mr. Newman, it's good to have you back. We have definitely gone into overtime here, so I'm going to play the music to play us off. Anything else to add?
We won't run the commercial, but I will just say.
Oh, no, we will. We will. We were having so much fun. That's on me. I'm running the board, guys. That's on me.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
And just real quick, I just got an order back. I bulk sub for them. For those that don't know, we just had a crazy order with a Joe DiMaggio rookie, a 1921 U.S. Caramel Bayreuth, some Jackies, about 20 different Manals. They just lowered their pricing. So when I sent this order in, which was over 200 cards, I was worried how long it was going to take with the lower pricing, knowing they're probably getting a lot more submissions and slammed, and it was back in like 9 days. So they're keeping up with the heavier submissions, and they told me they could, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. And that I know they're a sponsor, but if anyone wants to, I can show you the dates, and I can pull up that screen at 9 days from when I sent it to when it was come back. And so I'm impressed by that, especially with the lower pricing tiers. So like SGC, like PSA, but those are my two.
I'd like to say that I'm not a group sub submitter, but if you'd like to send me your cards randomly, I'll figure out something to do with them. All right, this was a blast. This was a topic I was glad we got to touch on, because you and I are not too far apart in age, and we grew up, kind of on the same era and the same types of cards, and it was a fun time in the hobby, and it was good to reminisce.
Yeah, there's no real DeLorean like you see with Dr. Emmett Brown and Back to the Future. So this is the closest thing we can get to that. Where we're roads, where we're going, there are no roads. We don't need roads. So we didn't need any roads tonight, and we took you back to the 80s and 90s. And sometimes I get sad. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I sort of get sad because I'm like, it only happened once, right? We really can't go back there again for real, but we can talk about it. It's the next best thing.
And we only talk baseball.
I know. If we would have made this like all sports, this crazy.
I mean, I'm already thinking about
now.
I'm already thinking about the Jerry Rice rookie and
Joe Montana.
We could do a whole nother episode, and we didn't even.
The Joe Montana rookie is like the Ricky Henderson. I kind of.
How about 90s basketball? There's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. We're about to start a whole nother show. Just before we do that, I'm going to play us out.
Duffy Rose, 91 Stadium Club.
Great card. John, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, John. See you guys.